Tonight on ABC News Live Prime, deadly tour bus crash. At least 5 dead and dozens injured when a tour bus carrying 54 passengers from Niagara Falls to New York City crashes on a highway outside of Buffalo. The driver losing control as it traveled full speed. Some passengers ejected from the bus, others trapped inside. We've got the latest. The Justice Department releases the transcript and audio recording of its 2-day interview last month with Ghislaine Maxwell, the imprisoned former associate of Jeffrey Epstein, telling the DOJ there's no list. What else she revealed during those meetings? The FBI searching the home and office of former National Security Advisor John Bolton, once one of President Trump's top advisors, now among his most vocal critics since the president fired him back in 2019. Was this a mission of retribution? Decision day for Lyle Menendez. After more than 3 decades behind bars for the murders of their parents, his brother Eric already denied parole. What does it mean for Lyle's plea for freedom? College football is back. We'll look at the first matchups of the season and how major changes for college sports this summer could impact the game. And you've seen them on social media. Kareem Rahma, best known on TikTok for his viral subway takes, joining forces with actor, writer, and director Mary Neely. How those underground hot takes led to a full-length film about making connections in unexpected moments.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is Prime with Linsey Davis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Trevor Alt in for Linsey Davis. Thank you so much for streaming with us. We begin with a tragic tour bus crash in upstate New York. At least 5 people killed and dozens injured in a horrific scene on I-90 outside Buffalo.
For unknown reasons, the vehicle lost control, went into the median, overcorrected, and ended up in the ditch. And at this time, we have multiple fatalities, multiple entrapments, and multiple injuries.
And that tour bus was traveling full speed with 54 people on board at the time of the crash. Some passengers were thrown from the bus, others trapped beneath it. Many of them were tourists heading back to New York City after a visit to Niagara Falls. Authorities are calling this a mass casualty incident, noting every passenger suffered some sort of injury. Multiple ambulances, helicopters, and doctors were dispatched to the scene. It shut down the highway in both directions, and dozens of patients are now being treated at local hospitals. New York State Police say they're investigating the cause of this crash, but they believe the driver may have been distracted. So let's get right to ABC's Morgan Norwood.
Tonight, a horrific bus crash in upstate New York, killing at least 5 people and sending many more, including children, to the hospital.
The passengers range in age from 1 to 74 years old. The operator lost control of the bus, exiting the roadway.
Authorities say the tour bus left from New York City with 54 people on board and was on its way back from Niagara Falls when it spun out of control at full speed outside Buffalo. First responders rushing to the scene this afternoon. Dramatic images showing the bus lying on the side of the interstate. Firefighters attempting to work their way inside the wreckage to search for survivors. Some passengers thrown from the bus, others trapped underneath.
I need heavy rescue with airbags like yesterday.
Emergency crews calling in air support and school buses to evacuate the injured.
I need all four emergency flights. Helicopters. We're going to land them side by side on the median.
All 4 are en route to the scene.
Doctors saying several patients are undergoing surgery tonight.
And Trevor, tonight the investigation is on into what could have caused that deadly and tragic crash. Trevor?
Morgan Norwood for us. Morgan, thank you. Next to the remarkable decision by the Justice Department to release a transcript and audio from last month's interview with Jeffrey Epstein's convicted co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell. Here's Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katersky with what she revealed.
Tonight, for the first time, we're hearing Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell in her own words, telling the Justice Department she witnessed no inappropriate behavior by any of Epstein's powerful friends, from Bill Clinton to Donald Trump. And a long-rumored list of Epstein's high-profile clients does not exist.
There's no list. There's never been a list.
And you never heard Mr. Epstein talk about such a list?
Never.
In her highly unusual 2-day meeting last month with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, the country's second highest-ranking law enforcement official and President Trump's former lawyer, Maxwell said she witnessed no illegal or concerning conduct by Trump.
I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
Before the meeting, which Maxwell initiated, sources tell ABC News top administration officials encouraged Blanche to seek information from Maxwell that could lead to criminal investigations that might quiet the outrage over Epstein by some of the president's own supporters.
I want you to just tell the truth the best you can, so I don't want you to be burdened by what people said at trial or what you know the press says about you.
The Justice Department today turned over to Congress a trove of Epstein files, along with an audio recording and transcript of the 9-hour Maxwell interview. She called former President Clinton truly extraordinary, and despite Trump's claim Clinton visited Epstein's private Caribbean island more than 20 times, Maxwell said it isn't true.
You're not aware of President Clinton ever going to the island?
He absolutely never went, and I can be sure of that, because there's no way he would have gone. Well, I don't believe there's any way that he would have gone to the island had I not been there, because I don't believe he had an independent friendship, if you will, with Epstein.
Maxwell also claims she's innocent, despite a 2021 conviction for trafficking minors and enabling Epstein's sexual exploitation of girls.
I did introduce him to women. I did, but not underage women.
Maxwell is serving a 20-year sentence. President Trump has not ruled out a pardon. Epstein victims, like Annie Farmer, who testified against her, say Maxwell deserves no mercy.
She didn't just procure girls and women for Epstein, but she herself participated in their abuse.
Shortly after her interview, Maxwell was transferred to a minimum security camp in Texas, a rare move for a convicted sex offender.
And that decision, of course, raised a lot of eyebrows. Okay, Aaron joins us now. So, Aaron, the DOJ's decision to release these records comes days after a judge's ruling, which was also tied to the Epstein case and releasing maybe some other information. Can you break down what happened there?
Yeah, that involved grand jury transcripts from the original investigations that led to criminal indictments against Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. And 3 judges have now decided, the most recent one this week, Trevor, not to release those grand jury transcripts because the judges said there was just no good reason to make public what is ordinarily kept secret. And the judge this week noted that the Justice Department is still sitting on hundreds of thousands of Epstein files that may well be more revelatory. And in fact, we know that the Justice Department is no doubt hoping releasing the transcript and the audio of the Maxwell interview would help quiet an uproar over Jeffrey Epstein that's been dogging President Trump all summer. We'll see if that works, Trevor.
Uproar is the right word. Okay, Aaron Katersky for us. Aaron, thank you. Now to the stunning images of the FBI searching the home and office of President Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton. Bolton is one of the president's most outspoken critics now, and federal agents tonight say they're investigating allegations that he may be in possession of classified records. We'll have a former Assistant Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security with us, Elizabeth Newman, in just a moment. But first, let's go to Chief Washington Correspondent Jonathan Karl. John?
Trevor, less than 2 weeks ago, John Bolton told me that Donald Trump is running a, quote, retribution presidency. And today, he found FBI agents searching his home and his office. President Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton, arrived at his home this afternoon just moments after FBI agents carried boxes out of his house. And while 4 agents were still inside. The agents had been there nearly 8 hours, arriving shortly after 7 a.m. Sources telling ABC News the search was related to allegations that Bolton was in possession of classified records. Just moments after the agents arrived, FBI Director Kash Patel wrote on social media, quote, "No one is above the law. FBI agents on mission." The question is whether that mission is retribution. Bolton has been a harsh Trump critic since Trump fired him back in 2019. And for years, Trump has said Bolton belongs in jail. The search of Bolton's Maryland home and also his Washington, D.C. office, where agents were seen removing items this afternoon, were approved by 2 separate federal judges. Back in 2020, President Trump tried to block the publication of Bolton's White House memoir, The Room Where It Happened, a highly negative portrayal of Trump's handling of national security. Trump accused Bolton of putting classified information in the book. Today, Trump insisted he didn't know about the search in advance, but he made it clear he still despises his former national security advisor.
I purposely don't want to really get involved in it. I'm not a fan of John Bolton. I thought he was a sleazebag, actually. I just saw that. I'll find out about it. But if you believe the news, which I do, I guess his house was raided today, but my house was raided also, called Mar-a-Lago.
Just 12 days ago, I asked Bolton if he feared being a target of President Trump's.
You're obviously on his enemies list, at least Kash Patel's enemies list. Are you worried that they're going to come after you in some way? I mean, he's hinted at it before.
Well, I think he's already come after me and several others in withdrawing the protection that we had for from the Iranians for the attack on Qasem Soleimani. So I think, and I said in the new forward to the paperback edition of my book, I think it is a retribution presidency.
Early this morning, just as agents were arriving at his house, Bolton criticized Trump's handling of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, writing on X, quote, "Meetings will continue because Trump wants a Nobel Peace Prize, but I don't see these talks making any progress."
Certainly seems like he may have saw this coming. Okay, John joins us now, and John, of course, is not the only Trump critic who has been under scrutiny recently.
Look, Trevor, during the campaign, Donald Trump said, "I am your retribution" to his supporters, and he meant it. There have been dozens of Trump critics who have been the targets of criminal investigations, who have seen their security clearances taken away, who have seen their security details, including people like John Bolton, Mike Pompeo, the president's member of President Biden's family, have seen their Secret Service details taken away, despite the fact of ongoing threats. And the president himself, President Trump, he has suggested that some of his most prominent critics, his political opponents, including President Biden, President Obama, actually belong in prison. So yes, John Bolton is the latest in a long line of Trump critics who have been targeted.
Of course, so many supporters cheering for that potential retribution. Okay, John Karl, thank you.
Thank you,
and
Trevor.
for more on this, let's bring in ABC News contributor and former Assistant Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Elizabeth Newman. Elizabeth, thank you for joining us. Obviously, some bad blood between the president and his former national security advisor. I think, though, the way that John Bolton was talking, he may be the person least surprised to see this investigation and search carried out. How about you? Are you surprised by this? What do you make of all of it?
I'm not surprised, Trevor. It's really hard to separate this investigation from the context. Bolton has been one of his fiercest critics, and Trump openly promised during the campaign retribution against those who crossed him. So when I think about how they can go about that retribution, it actually doesn't surprise me that this was about classification rules. It's one of the easiest levers to pull. The rules around classified information are really complex. It is easy to make mistakes, honest mistakes, that people even that have been in the national security system their entire careers can make mistakes. And so when you have that complex system, you could go on a fishing expedition and, quite frankly, find possibly something that he shouldn't have taken with him. And that is technically against the law. So they could prosecute him for that. So I am not surprised that they went after Bolton. I'm not surprised that they used this approach to go after Bolton. It is unfortunately not good for the national security system and not good for the country that we are using the national security classification system maybe as a way to go after our political opponents. That's not a good look, even if that's not what's actually at play. But like I said, the context here seems to indicate that this is about retribution, not about enforcing the law.
Well, John Bolton is not the only person that has a riff with the president. Do you think he may be the only one to face this kind of treatment?
Sadly, no. I think he's the first. I think he will be a test case. There are others that they have named that they plan to investigate, including some of my former colleagues, Miles Taylor and Chris Krebs. I do worry that they will try to use this as a tool. I'm hopeful that the justice system will hold. There were judges that had to approve of this action today, and hopefully as they cull through whatever they have found, they will take the proper action and not issue indictments unless there actually is something that was done inappropriately. But I really don't like the look of us using the national security classification system as a way to go after our political opponents. It is definitely bringing a chilling effect to those in public service, knowing that if you speak up and use your First Amendment right to criticize a political opponent, that you could face retribution like this. And that is not what our country was founded on.
Elizabeth Newman for us. Elizabeth, thank you for your time. We want to turn now to the Menendez brothers and their push for freedom decades after murdering their parents and one day after Eric Menendez lost his initial bid for freedom. His brother Lyle is appealing to the parole board today, and he too will soon learn his fate. Our chief national correspondent Matt Gutman kicks off our team coverage in San Diego tonight. He is live outside the prison for us. Matt?
And Trevor, that marathon parole hearing is still ongoing. We also anticipate that 18 members of the Menendez family, or also the family of the victims, will speak on behalf of Lyle. But because the fate of the two brothers is so closely linked, the legal team for the Menendez family thinks that there's only a sliver of hope that Lyle will be granted parole.
Just a day after his younger brother Eric was denied parole for the notorious shotgun murders of their parents 36 years ago, Lyle Menendez is making his case before a different panel of parole commissioners. Lyle, now 57, was in college when they killed their parents in their Beverly Hills home. He has fewer infractions in prison than his brother, but a resume filled with lies, starting with his 911 call.
What's the problem? Someone killed my parents. Pardon me? Someone killed my parents.
Like Eric, Lyle will be grilled on the murders and the alleged sex abuse by his father.
It raped me.
Did you cry?
Yes.
It comes after the parole board ruled that Eric still poses an unreasonable risk to public safety. The commissioner excoriating Eric, saying his prison record is replete with diverse violations.
You have violence, you have manipulation, you have misuse of things, you have criminal acts, you have substance abuse.
He also cited Eric's repeated use of contraband cell phones, drugs, even tax fraud.
I really became addicted to this, to the phones, and said, "You're doing life without. This is not really harming anyone."
The board saying Eric's leadership among inmates tarnished by his infractions. Contrary to your supporters' beliefs, you have not been a model prisoner, and frankly, we find that a little disturbing. And the commissioner pointing to the murder of Eric's mother, calling it devoid of human compassion, rejecting the brothers' claim that they were in imminent fear, agreeing with the DA's argument.
It's an entire fabrication that their parents were going to kill them that night, as we showed by their premeditated, willful, and deliberate actions both before and after the killings.
Now we have this ongoing hearing today after we had yesterday's long hearing. So, Matt, of course, we're still waiting on the parole board's decision today. Obviously, the Menendez family was disappointed in yesterday's decision. Eric's parole denied. Do we know how they're feeling tonight?
They're feeling a little bit nervous. Yesterday was a very difficult day. It was 10 hours of testimony, Trevor, and they spent about 3 hours, 18 of them, testifying on Eric's behalf, and they're doing the same today. And it is a grueling process because, remember, they are in the unique position of both being the family members of the inmates they're trying to get released, but also of the victims. So this dredges up a lot of the pain, and right now they are not incredibly hopeful for Lyle being granted parole at this point, at least, Trevor.
Certainly difficult to have to dredge up all those emotions on back-to-back days. Of course, there is still the possibility here, Matt, that Lyle's parole could be granted. If that were to happen, how soon could he be released from prison?
So the process is not super quick, Trevor. It would take about 5 months for the chief parole board member to sort of review the case. He would have 5 months. Then Governor Newsom would have a month either to affirm it or deny it. So it would be about 6 months before they're released, maybe by the end of the year at the fastest. That's probably not going to happen. Maybe yes. So if they are denied parole, then a different set of options presents itself. They could still file a habeas corpus petition, meaning that new information has come to light asking for a new trial. They could get clemency from Governor Newsom, or probably most likely they'll try another parole hearing, and as soon as about 18 months, that's the soonest that they could get in front of another parole board. Trevor.
And the governor, we know, has toyed with the idea of clemency. Okay, Matt Gutman, thank you very much for your time. Let's bring in attorney and ABC News contributor Bernarda Villalona. What is your prediction here for Lyle Menendez? Any chance of a split decision?
Not at all. I think Lyle Menendez, that his parole is going to be denied. Various reasons why. They're going to take into account, of course, the crime, of how brutal the crime was, but also take into account his behavior while in jail, the victim impact statements, the position of the district attorney, the risk assessment that was done by the parole board, which determined that he is a moderate risk of reoffending, of being a threat to society. And that's going to be huge for the parole board. Also take into account, this is the first time that he's in front of the parole board. And in terms of statistics, it is highly unlikely that first-time inmates that appear before the parole board on violent crimes are granted parole. Let's look at the case of Sirhan, who was convicted of killing Senator Robert F. Kennedy. He went before the parole board 15 times before the parole board granted him parole, and eventually the governor actually denied that request, and still he remains in custody for a murder from 1968.
What do you expect to be the biggest factor working in his favor? Obviously, it's a big uphill climb here. Is there anything that could be to his advantage?
Well, the biggest factor working in his favor is that he has the family that is behind him. So normally, it's usually the family that's against the release of an inmate, of the person that is accused or has been convicted of taking away the life of a loved one. So that's the biggest thing that he has going for them, but also what he's done while he's been in custody. He's done a lot of good, but still just one or two minor blemishes can overlook the good that he's done in custody, especially when we take into account that all the good that he's done has been when he knew he was facing and will be in jail for the rest of his life. So there wouldn't have been any incentive for him to do any good while in custody. And that's the argument that the defense is going to use for Lyle Menendez to be released. But like I said, highly unlikely that he will be released, at least this time around.
Yeah, you make the point that almost nobody has their first parole hearing and with their parole being granted, but that of course implies that there are more hearings where you can try again and try again. If both of these brothers end up being denied parole, when could they get their next chance at freedom?
So the next chance, it depends on what the parole board says. We know from yesterday that during the hearing for Eric Menendez, that the parole board that said that he has 3 years from now before he can appear before the parole board, but he'll be appearing before the 3 years are actually up and have that hearing. But again, we have to see some kind of change between what's happening now to when the next parole hearing is taking place. Do you have a clean record during that time? And what have you done to show that you have been rehabilitated and that you're not going to be a threat to society? And are you taking responsibility and accountability for your actions, including try to give some kind of rationale and own up to the 5 or 6 different stories that were provided when this homicide took place and during trial?
Okay, Bernarda Villalona, thank you very much for your time. Next tonight, that major storm system still on the move. Hurricane Erin now downgraded to a post-tropical storm as it heads out to sea. But lingering remnants are still creating dangerous conditions along the East Coast, including potentially deadly rip currents and waves up to 15 feet. And out here in the West, more than 50 million people are under heat and wildfire alerts. We have meteorologist Jeff Smith standing by to give us the forecast. But first, let's go to ABC's Stephanie Ramos.
Trevor, Hurricane Erin has moved away from the East Coast after causing flooding along the Jersey Shore, New York City beaches, and coastal Delaware. Wind speeds are expected to calm down, but the high rip current risks extend through Saturday.
Tonight, Erin is still a massive storm, and between the waves, the floods, and the rip currents, the danger is far from over.
Normally, Jones Beach is one of the biggest, the largest beaches in the tri-state area. You can see it's all pretty much underwater this morning.
Up and down the East Coast, the tides came in with a vengeance. Police officers pushing stranded vehicles in Ocean City, Maryland. Cars swamped on the Jersey Shore. Authorities in Margate, New Jersey say they rescued about 50 people overnight. Swimmers banned from most beaches. The conditions treacherous.
You gotta go.
On Long Beach, just outside New York City, lifeguards racing into the pounding surf to help a surfer that smashed into the rocks. On North Carolina's Outer Banks, heavy equipment clearing the road, mobile homes caked in sand, crews repairing downed lines. Meanwhile, in the West, extreme heat fueling multiple wildfires. 350 firefighting personnel battling the out-of-control picket fire. In Northern California's Napa County, hundreds under evacuation orders.
We're certainly feeling the heat out here out west, but Stephanie, you're there on Rockaway Beach in Queens, New York. Labor Day, of course, just around the corner. It means a couple more summer weekends left for folks out there to enjoy the beach, including you right now. Are people heeding these warnings to stay out of the water, Steph?
They are not. A majority are, but there are some folks that are trying to get into the water right now. I mean, here on Rockaway Beach, the red flag warnings are up. The tide is really high. And the combination of strong rip currents and a perfect beach day has officials really concerned as they try to keep people out of the water, Trevor.
And we're seeing those waves behind you. Okay, Stephanie Ramos, thank you. And with all that going on, let's get straight to ABC meteorologist Jeff Smith for all of this in the forecast. Jeff, break it down for us.
Yeah, Trevor, Erin, now a post-tropical cyclone accelerating away from the East Coast, but it's a very large, expansive storm, and that's why the influence of the storm is still being felt at the beaches, and we have high surf advisories into this evening along the middle Atlantic coast and even into tomorrow along the New England coast, where waves could be up and over 10 feet right through the day on Saturday. Not only that, up and down the entire East Coast, from Florida all the way up to Maine, it's a high risk of rip currents. The concern is the weather is super nice out there, so people are going to be enticed to head down to the beach, but they should not be going in the water. Swimming is still dangerous through at least tomorrow through much of the East Coast, so keep that in mind if you're headed to the beaches. Meanwhile, in the West, it's all about the heat, and we're talking about records potentially being broken tomorrow as we head from Southern California all the way up to the Pacific Northwest. Look at Portland potentially getting up to 102 degrees during the day on Saturday. That in combination with a dry breeze means increased fire danger as well. Trevor?
Okay, tale of two coasts. Jeff Smith for us. Thank you.
Alrighty.
Next tonight, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who was wrongly deported before being brought back to the U.S., has now been released from custody in Tennessee. In March, the El Salvador native was wrongly deported to the country's notorious mega prison. The Trump administration has long alleged he has ties to the notorious MS-13 gang. It's a claim that Abrego Garcia's attorneys and his family have denied. Abrego Garcia now heads home to Maryland as he awaits trial on human smuggling charges, which he also denies. The organization representing his wife considers his release, quote, bittersweet, as the threat of deportation still looms. Well, stocks surged today as investors reacted to comments from Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. Powell spoke earlier in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. He signaled a potential interest rate cut when the Fed meets next month. In response, the Dow and NASDAQ gained nearly 2%, and the S&P 500 closed up 1.5%. Well, coming up here, the new study linking oil and gas pollution to significant health issues and deaths nationwide. And college football is back tomorrow. What to expect and how some major developments in college sports this summer could make for some changes this season. And we'll tell you why Cracker Barrel decided to rebrand and why this has people so upset. Well, college football season is back finally. After 7 months of waiting, a select few teams are kicking off week 0 tomorrow, a week earlier than the rest of the country. And it will be our first look at college football as it enters a new era, a big business that grew even bigger this summer. SportsCenter anchor Elle Duncan will join us in just a moment. But first, a look at the state of college football by the numbers. 5 Division I college football games will take place during tomorrow's Week 0 action. And for the 4th straight season, Week 0 will feature the Aer Lingus College Football Classic in Dublin, Ireland. This year's game pits Iowa State against Kansas State at noon Eastern on ESPN. These games come just a little more than 7 weeks after schools were officially allowed to start directly paying student athletes as part of a legal settlement. Schools opting into that settlement with the NCAA can now spend up to $20.5 million on their athletes this year. And that development itself comes 4 years after the Supreme Court paved the way for for athletes to make money from third parties through name, image, and likeness deals, the NIL you might have heard of. And on the subject of money, you can expect a lot of gambling activity on college games. Overall, sports betting in the U.S. brought in a record $13.7 billion in revenue in 2024, according to the American Gaming Association. And for more on this college football season and an exciting next few days in the sports world, we wanted to bring in an expert. So we're joined now by SportsCenter anchor Elle Duncan. Elle, thanks so much for being here. Been a fan of your work for a very long time. We mentioned we mentioned that marquee game tomorrow on ESPN, Iowa State, Kansas State playing in Ireland. Aside from just football being back, what are you most excited for with that game?
Yeah, well, so you mentioned that it's always such a fantastic event when we do this sort of week 0 opening game in Ireland. But I think what's so exciting about this particular matchup this year is that a lot of times in week 0, which is what we dub this first week of college football, it feels a little bit like an exhibition game. This game 100% matters. It's not only a ranked matchup with Kansas State and Iowa State, it's a ranked Big 12 matchup. Both of these teams have aspirations to not only win the conference championship, but also go to CFP.
We have seen how much the NIL has kind of upended all of college athletics, but there's this new rule in play where the schools can now pay these athletes directly. How do we think that's going to impact the game?
I think that we knew a few years back that when they took off all the restraints when it came to NIL and when it came to, these athletes being able to profit off of themselves, when they really changed the transfer portal rules, we knew that we would see some chaos. What I would say is that in general, we're going to still see these sort of marquee franchises and programs who are always going to pull the best talent. We're still going to see, I think, continued separation.
Elle, there's an argument to be made that we're entering the best season of the year in terms of sports. So I'd love to just pick your brain a little bit on some other ones. We have the U.S. Open going on in tennis right now. Any players or storylines you're most excited for there?
Oh my God. Okay, so many storylines. I feel like, Trevor, the official end to summer is not just the start of college football, but the U.S. Open at Flushing Meadows, Honey Deuces, the biggest names. And on the men's side, Jannik Sinner is coming in, trying to defend his title. He is the presumptive favorite. He did have to withdraw from his last tournament because he was sick. But also we've got Carlos Alcaraz, Novak Djokovic looking to extend his record, 25th major. And then there's Big Foe, Francis Tiafoe, the local New York kid, always finds a way to play his absolute best tennis at the U.S. Open. But we got a little spicy news, Trev, on the women's side, because Coco Gauff is trying to win her second U.S. Open in the last 3 years. You may know she fired her coach just last week, and it just came across that she has hired Aryna Sabalenka's former serve coach to be her coach. Now, a little reminder for the viewers, they've got a little bit of that beef that happened after Coco beat her at the French Open. They squashed things at Wimbledon. But this is a little bit spicy to not only make a coaching move, but to go for one of your biggest rivals and a coach that helped them through their career. To pull that on ahead of the U.S. Open, I think is incredibly spicy, maybe a little petty, but I can't wait to see the results.
Elle Duncan, really appreciate your time. Jamar Chase, number 1 overall?
100%, always.
Okay, good to know. Elle Duncan, thank you.
Take.
And coming up here, she was an American college student wrongly convicted of murdering her roommate in Italy. Now Amanda Knox shares her side of the story in a 1-hour ABC News special, Search for the Truth, the Amanda Knox story. And the FDA expands its recall of potentially radioactive shrimp. We'll tell you which products may be affected. Welcome back. We want to tell you about a new ABC News special where Amanda Knox, in an exclusive interview, is discussing her years-long battle to prove her innocence after she was wrongfully convicted in Italy of her roommate's murder in 2007. The special, The Search for the Truth, the Amanda Knox story, also features a new interview with Monica Lewinsky, with both women explaining how they reclaimed their lives. The pair also discussed their involvement in a new limited series from Hulu titled The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox. And here's a sneak peek.
So is Raphael your boyfriend? Yeah. He's super hot. I'll send you a picture. Do it now. But I miss him so much. Yeah, I know. I had a really bad day today, man. like being in the police station, I'm incredibly nervous, and I always feel like I'm about to burst into crying because I'm just like so upset. But like I feel good now.
Don't worry about it. Remember, when that happens, go, wait, I'm in Italy, and I'm with Raphael, and I'm 20, and I'm going to look back on this year as, like, the best year of my life.
I was not Miss Popular in high school. Like, I was not, like, the pretty one in high school. I was kind of a dork, and I was kind of chubby. I think I was the last person in my friend group to be asked to prom. Like, that's the situation I was coming from. I was certainly like starting to become a sexual person, but I didn't really have much experience with that at all.
British tabloids often referred to the 22-year-old as Foxy Noxy, a promiscuous party girl.
Amanda has become a well-known figure in Italy, where her pictures have covered newspapers and magazines.
The press pounced on Foxy Noxy, her soccer nickname. She got it for playing soccer in a wily, quick way, but Foxy Noxy now took on, a different, darker connotation.
She was very angelic looking. I thought that I was reading about an American girl who had turned into Charles Manson overnight.
Hey, how are you? Oh. Well, the world out there is making you out to be this massive killing monster. Yeah. Are you serious? Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, by that point, I was in a jail cell, and as horrifying as that was, there was nothing I could do about it. Like, I really did not think at the time that any of it was in bad faith. I didn't. I really, really thought that people just didn't, like, it was all a big misunderstanding.
When Amanda was in prison, they said, list all your boyfriends. We think you are HIV positive.
I was stunned. I went back to my room with one of the prison officials telling me, well, you should have thought about it before you had sex with all those people.
Turns out it was like only 7 guys, and they gave it to the media right away. Look how many people she's had sex with.
We used to burn women at the stake, right? There has always been a lens to look at women through something that's negative, whether it's considered witchcraft or it's through sexuality.
It was a tantalizing story, how they took a 20-year-old girl and turned her into their fantasy of a sex monster. You came into my life at a moment when I really needed you. I didn't know anyone who had ever reclaimed their narrative, who had resurfaced after the world tried to bury them.
There were so many similarities between Amanda's story and mine. I hope that this series provides people with an opportunity to re-examine not only Amanda's story, but to maybe think twice before we just go all in on the judgment.
It feels so important and fulfilling to me to be a part of this version of Amanda's story, the version where she is involved, and it is this opportunity for her to reclaim her story, as opposed to everyone telling it for her.
What excites us is that we're telling you the story you don't know. We're taking you beyond labels, beyond cardboard cutouts of people.
We really wanted to explore in this series what I'd like to call the anatomy of bias, which are the false beliefs and preconceived notions and entrenchments that make fertile ground for grave injustices to happen.
I was lost for a long time after I got out of prison. And something that was so important to KJ and to Monica Lewinsky and I was showing that consequence, showing what it's like to live with that heaviness and that burden.
There's this thing that happens when you're trying to move on, where everybody says, move on, get over it. And at the same time, people don't actually let you move on.
My life is a whole different life now. I'm a mom, I'm a wife. I do a lot of criminal justice reform work. There's a lot that could be done to protect innocent people.
We have to make our own freedom. It's not something that is given to us. We have to find it in the life that we have to live. That's what I feel today. I feel motivated, informed, and propelled by this experience. I will not allow myself to feel diminished or held back.
And you can catch the ABC News special Search for the Truth, the Amanda Knox story, tonight on Hulu and Disney+, as well as the limited series The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox, with new episodes dropping on Hulu weekly. Coming up here, TikTok was banned from federal government devices more than 2.5 years ago. So how is it that the White House and President Trump have their own new account on the social media site? And actor Mary Neely has a new feature film with Kareem Rahma, famous on TikTok for his Subway Takes videos, where he interviews New Yorkers and sometimes celebrities on the subway. They are both here to tell us about their film. Stay with us. Welcome back. A new study ties the oil and gas industry to 90% of childhood asthma cases. The internet has big feelings about the Cracker Barrel rebrand and why a New Hampshire man with a passion for canning was busted by his city officials. These stories and more in tonight's rundown. President Trump joined TikTok with an official account despite a government-wide ban on the Chinese-owned social media platform. TikTok has been banned on federal devices since 2022, when the No TikTok on Government Devices Act was signed into law by President Biden. So far, the president is reposting his speeches, promoting deportation of illegal immigrants, and thanking law enforcement. The White House has not provided an explanation for how they are allowed to circumvent the ban.
I'm a fan of TikTok. My kids like TikTok. Young people love TikTok. If we can keep it going, good.
A new study links oil and natural gas processing in the U.S. to serious health impacts nationwide. In the study published by Science Advances, researchers estimate more than 90,000 early deaths, 10,000 premature births, 215,000 incidences of childhood asthma, and 1,600 cancers were attributable to various air pollutants released from oil and gas processing. The study also found racial and ethnic minority groups had the highest exposure to those air pollutants and the greatest health burden. Additional brands of raw and cooked frozen shrimp have been added to the ongoing frozen shrimp recall due to fears of possible radioactive contamination. The bags of raw and cooked frozen shrimp are packaged in Indonesia and sold by Southwind Foods LLC. Raw frozen shrimp sold by Great Value was recalled earlier this week, also due to potential contamination with cesium-137, according to an FDA alert. Now, at this time, there's no evidence that the radioactive material has entered the U.S. food supply. That's according to the FDA. Cracker Barrel changed their iconic logo as part of a broader rebrand that includes restaurant renovations in some of its U.S. restaurant locations. The new simplified text-only logo has sparked criticism on social media. The company said in a press release this week the new logo is now rooted even more closely to the iconic barrel shape and wordmark that started it all. Elon Musk's social media platform X has reached a tentative settlement with laid-off employees of Twitter. The employees sued the rebranded platform for $500 million in unpaid wages after Musk took over, firing thousands of Twitter employees in the process. Daniel Mowry says he has canned the bounty from his garden, including pickles, jam, and tomatoes, for decades, and then he gives it away for free to friends and family. But last week, the city of Manchester's health department in New Hampshire sent him a cease and desist letter. The Manchester Health Department says he needs a permit to keep canning and distributing his goods, and that his kitchen needs a commercial license. Mowry made it clear he has no intention of putting a lid on the hobby.
I'm not stopping. Sorry.
And we turn now to our weekly segment, TikTok. where we take a closer look at the story behind the sensation. Kareem Rahma, best known on TikTok for his viral subway takes. He's joining forces with actor, writer, and director Mary Neely, and together they have co-written and co-starred in the new film called Or Something. It's a comedy drama focusing on two strangers in New York City who spend the day together trying to get money they're both owed from the same guy. Let's take a look.
About something the other day. Do you think it's even special anymore to be considered hot?
I don't follow. God, I wish I had a cigarette.
Oh.
I'm good.
Kareem and Mary joining us now. How's it going?
Good.
Amazing.
How are you?
Doing great. Thank you both for being here. I know that both of you found your big breaks on TikTok. Mary, you had music videos during the quarantine, musical videos that drew a bunch of praise, big names on Broadway. Kareem, of course, people seeing your videos all the time, this kind of underground empire you built, interviewing every day New Yorkers, also all the way up to A-listers, presidential candidates, even if the interview doesn't necessarily see the light of day. How did the two of you get together to collaborate, not just on social media, to actually make a film together?
We met at a comedy show in New York right after I moved here from Los Angeles. It was right when everybody started going outside after COVID. And I saw him with his shirt unbuttoned, and I was like, who the hell is this guy?
Just had to find out more.
Yeah.
3 buttons is good. I think
Three-button rule.
buttons is good. Right now, I'm 3 right now.
Actually,
it's pretty good.
Oh, I was going to say 0.
3 is good. I don't know that we could go down to 4 for the purpose of this interview. You can save that for the internet.
Well, next time I will be with none.
Yeah, as you get a little more comfortable on the show, we'd love to have you back. So the two of you play strangers who are kind of forced together in this movie. Obviously, Kareem, you've got a lot of experience talking to strangers, and it seemed like the two of you are both pretty comfortable coming up to strangers based on how Mary just described the two of you meeting. Was that kind of the immediate inspiration for what you wanted to tell with this story and its premise?
You know, what's kind of incredible is that this movie was written before Subway Takes and before Keep the Meter Running, and really before anything. So when Mary approached me as a stranger, I think I already had that knack for talking to strangers. And the film, in a weird way, ended up being like a predecessor to Subway Takes because it is a film filled with conversation and takes.
How does your background, both of you, in social media, I would imagine that makes the run and gun style a little bit easier because that's probably how you've done a lot of the videos that you've made.
It's how I've done a lot of the films that I've made too. It's funny because I wasn't really a social media person when my videos that I made blew up on the internet. I have a background in film, and a lot of the stuff that I've made is really DIY. So I applied a lot of my filmmaking techniques to the videos that I made that did really well on the internet.
I also think I've read that a lot of the dialogue comes from real conversations that you've had, funny, deep, on either side of the spectrum here. How do you decide, oh, actually, I think the thing that I lived should go in this movie?
Well, this all really started because we got into an argument about whether men and women can really be friends, because I said that men are only nice to women that they want to have a romantic relationship with, and Kareem vehemently disagreed with me.
100% disagree. Still, I think men and women can be friends.
Yes, it's not a resolved conversation by any means, but we would just choose topics to discuss when we were writing the script and have conversations as ourselves, and then transcribe those conversations as the dialogue into the movie.
And well, it's clear that the two of you seem to be pretty good friends, if I can make that assessment.
Yeah, I think that's why my take stands true. Men and women can be friends without a romantic relationship. You're seeing one here live on air.
Good.
Okay.
I'm glad that we got at least one take out of you, Kareem. Kareem, Mary, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate you both joining us.
Thank you.
The film Or Something premieres in theaters today with a Factory 25 release. You can be sure to check out also Kareem's MetroCard adventures on TikTok at Subway Takes, and Mary at Mary Connor Neely. And that is our show for this hour. I'm Trevor Ault. Stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. And thanks as always for streaming with us.